Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you tonight. A major GST restructuring is likely on the cards. The group of ministers on rate rationalisation propose a separate 35% tax category for demerit goods like cigarettes, tobacco products and aerated drinks. The additional cess on tobacco products is also likely to remain. The group of ministers also proposes to tweak GST on at least 148 items, recommends increasing the tax on high-end ready-made garments, cosmetics, watches, shoes, among others. The council is set to meet on the 21st of December to consider these proposals. The bulls continue to regain lost ground on the Lal Street. The Sensex gains nearly 600 points. The Nifty hits a one-month high. The rupee recovers against the dollar after hitting a record low in early trade. With 7 days left in his tenure and the MPC meeting set to begin tomorrow, sources say the government is set to take a decision on RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das's tenure shortly. Das has been at the helm of RBI since 2018, the longest-serving governor in 7 decades. HDFC Bank management bets on a multi-fold increase in securitisation to raise resources. The management expects the current 15,000 crore rupees as revenue from the pooling of assets to hit 1 lakh crore rupees in a few years. That's an exclusive. Swiggy's losses in Q2 narrow to 625 crore rupees. Revenue from quick commerce business doubles and overall revenue jumps nearly 40%. The government delays the full-fledged launch of the internship scheme announced in the budget. Sources say the government is planning to expand the ambit to include 1,000 companies against the current 500. Banks and financial institutions are likely to be added to the list. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman tables the banking law amendment bill in Parliament after an all-party meeting broke the deadlock. The External Affairs Minister Jaishankar informs Parliament that there is some improvement in the relationship with China after the Galwan Valley clash 5 years ago. The government plans to amend the Insurance Act to give the sector regulator the authority to specify investment limits for companies. If approved, the IRDAI will have the power to allow insurers to invest more in equity or other asset classes. India's largest airline, Indigo, filed a trademark infringement lawsuit against automaker Mahindra for using 6E in its new car model to be released in February. Indigo's airline code, which is 6E, also serves as a key element of its branding. The ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon hangs by a thread. Israel attacked southern Lebanon after accusing Hezbollah of firing rockets at Tel Aviv. Israel also bombs Gaza, killing 36 people in the last 24 hours. The UN warns that food availability in Gaza is at an all-time low. Well, let's start with the market action. The bulls continue to regain lost ground on the Lal Street. The Nifty moving to its highest levels in a month after gaining over 180 points. The Sensex gained nearly 600 points today. The Nifty added about 181. The Nifty Bank was up by about 500 points and the Nifty Mid Cap put on about 500 points as well. Financial stocks, as you saw, are leading the charge today. In the money market, the rupee recovered from its record lows, ending higher against the dollar, but the Indian currency remains closer to record low levels that we saw yesterday. That is the money market action for you. But with 7 days left in his tenure, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das will chair the upcoming MPC meeting, which is scheduled to begin tomorrow. Now, the governor's tenure ends on the 10th of December. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 the decision on a potential extension of the governor's tenure is expected shortly. Shaktikanta Das took charge as the governor in 2018 and received a 3-year extension. He's already the longest-serving RBI governor in over 7 decades. So will an extension be granted? That's the big question, awaiting an answer. What we are also given to understand from sources is that other names that have been that are in the contention as possible choices include the current Chief Economic Advisor Anantha Nageswaran, the current Economic Affairs Secretary Ajay Sheth, and the RBI Deputy Governors as well. A decision still awaited. Now, Axis Bank's Deputy Managing Director Rajiv Anand has said a slowdown in growth is palpable after the second quarter GDP slowed to a 21-month low. However, he believes a repo rate cut from the Reserve Bank is unlikely, adding that banks will be delighted if the Reserve Bank cuts the cash reserve ratio. Take a look.
I think the fact that we've seen this print on GDP growth has certainly surprised everyone, and I'm sure RBI is redoing their numbers as well. That with 6.2% on inflation, it's unlikely that we will get a repo rate cut anytime soon. I think it's a very close call on whether a CRR cut is something that we will get on Friday. On the one side, yes, I'd be delighted if the CRR cut comes through. The repo rate is at 6.5%. Banks on the margin are raising money at anything between 7.5% to 8% for 1 year deposits. And I think that gap needs to come down, and I think a CRR cut will certainly help bringing that down. I think given the fact that much of the book is EBLR linked, a repo rate cut will have a short-term impact as far as margins are concerned.
Well, that's Axis Bank. Now, major restructuring of the GST rate structure is on the cards, and this could probably be the biggest since the indirect tax regime came into existence in 2017. The group of ministers on rate rationalisation has proposed a separate 35% GST slab for demerit goods like cigarettes, tobacco products and aerated drinks. The cess component on tobacco products is also likely to continue. Now, the GOM has also proposed to tweak GST on at least 148 items. They have recommended increasing the tax on high-end ready-made garments, cosmetics, watches, shoes, among other categories. However, there is a caveat. These are only proposals, and the final decision will be taken by the GST Council when it meets on the 21st of December. Timsy is standing by now to take us through the key proposals that the GOM on rate rationalisation has finalised or arrived at. Timsy.
Well, it is going to be an action-packed GST Council meeting at Jaisalmer on 21st of December. The group of ministers on rate rationalisation has proposed a major overhaul of GST structure, and the Council is expected to deliberate on them. Let me quickly take you through the key proposals. A new special rate of 35% along with rate rejig for as many as 148 items has been proposed. The special 35% GST rate will be applicable only on tobacco, tobacco products and aerated beverages. These currently attract a GST of 28%. The additional cess component on tobacco products, which ranges from 11% to 290%, will be continued. Similarly, on aerated beverages, also the cess will continue. The second big proposal is 5% GST for ready-made garments priced below 1,500 rupees and 18% GST for those in the range of 1,500 rupees to 10,000 rupees price bracket and 28% GST for those above 10,000 rupees. The GOM has also proposed hiking GST on luxury shoes from 18% to 28%. These would apply to shoes priced above 15,000 rupees. Similarly, wristwatches priced above 25,000 rupees may also move up to 28% GST bracket. The GOM's view is that a similar breakup according to price range should be carved out for items such as handbags, cosmetics, etc., with those in the luxury bracket should be attracting a 28% GST. A lot of common use items are set to get cheaper. The items such as 20-litre packaged drinking water may move from the current 18% slab down to 5%. The GOM has also proposed 5% GST bracket for bicycles below 10,000 rupees and exercise books, again at 5%. Similarly, the GOM on insurance suggested that premia on pure term life insurance be exempted from GST. Currently, it is taxed at 18%. This could lead to a potential revenue loss of 213 crore rupees. The GOM has also suggested tweaks on GST for health insurance premia for citizens below 60 year age. The panel has proposed that premia on health insurance cover of up to 5 lakh should be exempted from GST. It has proposed a 5% GST against the current 18% for premia on health covers above 5 lakh rupees. The panel has also proposed that senior citizens should be exempted from current 18% GST that they pay on health insurance premia. The potential revenue loss on the back of the relief on health insurance premia could come close to 2,100 crore rupees when it comes to the calculations for exemption to senior citizens and for below 5 lakh rupees cover. Important to note, these are just proposals and will now be discussed by the GST Council. So any final decision on GST rates will be taken by the Council. Also, the special rate is proposed to make up for the potential revenue loss which would occur due to these changes.
Well, thanks very much, Timsy. And yes, all-important GST Council meeting. How will these proposals impact the economy, the GST architecture and your wallet? We discuss all of that and more with a panel of top tax experts and former tax officials at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV 18. Here's another exclusive tonight. HDFC Bank is looking to make securitisation a new avenue to raise resources. The bank sees many of its parameters, like loan growth and loan deposit ratio, returning to pre-merger levels by 2027. Lata caught up with the CEO, Sashi Jagdishan, and CFO, Srini Vaidyanathan, and joins us now with more. Lata, take us through the bank's commentary.
It was a many-sided conversation. I'll give you the key takeaways from the HDFC Bank top brass. One, that already at the moment they are selling some 12,000 crore of their auto loans in the securitization process. They're looking at it as a possible avenue of raising resources. It could go to 1 trillion in a few years, Shashi Jagdishan said. Now, they have to reduce their loan book compared to their deposit. RBI wants a more comfortable credit deposit ratio. Pre-merger, the bank had an 85 to 90% CD ratio, which was comfortable credit deposit ratio. It had gone up because of the merger to nearly 110. The bank said, that is Srinivasan Vaidyanathan, CFO, said that their plan is to bring it down to this comfortable 85-90% by 2027. Therefore, they will grow their loan books slowly compared to the market this year. Next year, it will be along with the as good as the market, and by FY27, they will grow faster than the banking sector. That's the plan they have, which means they're mostly returning to their ratios by pre-merger ratios by FY27. On the more important part of bank assurance, a story which CNBC TV 18 broke, if you remember, that the banks should not be the big source of selling insurance policies. Shashi Jagdishan's point was that HDFC Bank always had an open architecture. That is, to their bank customers, they sold whichever product from whichever insurance company that suited the customer. But and they also have a very strong diligence process of video recording, etc., to prove that they don't coerce the customer. However, he said if no regulator has spoken to them, if a rule comes, then if they abide by it, they would. But it might impact insurance penetration because banks are the big source of selling insurance in the country, he pointed out. The other big point that he made was on unsecured loans. The HDFC Bank stunned us after the Q2 results by actually growing their unsecured loans faster than the previous quarter. And their defense, to their credit, that did not increase their slippages or bad loans. And their point was they spotted ahead of the curve the problem in that sector and went slow last year. And now when nobody wants to give unsecured loans, they are able to pick up some very good credit, high-yielding credit from the unsecured loan sector. And then most important was synergies. What's the point in merging with HDFC was the question I asked them. And they said that they've been able to draw a lot of synergies. Now, 95% of the new home loans that they are getting are opening an HDFC Bank savings account. Savings account is important. All banks are hankering after deposits. And of the old customers, about 3 million customers of HDFC, 1.7 million have opened HDFC Bank accounts. Plus, they have been able to sell loan products. After all, when you trust a borrower with a home loan of several lakhs, they are very good credit card customers. So at a click of a button, they have been able to sell them credit cards and even consumer durable loans. And usually when you're decorating a new home, you borrow like 4x the consumer durable loan that you would otherwise borrow. These were the key takeaways on the merger synergies. And finally, they did say that they are noticing some bit of a slowdown in urban loan demand. The consumption problem is there, but there is very good demand for luxury products. Those were the key takeaways.
All right, Lata, many thanks. Now, Swiggy's losses in the second quarter have narrowed by 5% to 625 crore rupees year on year. Overall revenue up nearly 40% to 3,600 crore rupees. The EBITDA loss has narrowed to 555 crore rupees. This is the first time the company has declared its results after going public, which happened last month. Shilpa is standing by with more on Swiggy's performance in the quick commerce and delivery segments. Shilpa.
Well, there's no surprise here that quick commerce was the growth driver of the overall revenue that you just spoke about. But let me take you through some of the internals that will paint a better picture. First things first, the company has said that it expects to turn adjusted EBITDA positive at a consolidated group level by the third quarter of FY26. And for the quick commerce business, that will happen by the second quarter of FY27. Now, remember, the food delivery business has already turned adjusted EBITDA positive. Now, if we are to look at the two main businesses here, let me talk about food delivery first. Food delivery saw its EBIT nearly double over the last quarter to about 122 crore rupees, and its gross order value also grew at about 5.6%, which is higher than its direct peer Zomato, which grew at about 4.6%. Now, the growth for food delivery, the company has said, has come in mainly from higher monetization in advertising and by reducing delivery costs and other variable costs. Now, the company expects the adjusted EBITDA margins of about 5% in the medium term, and it says that it will focus on affordability and creating more consumption use cases for consumers. This is for the food delivery business. Now, coming to its growth driver, the quick commerce, where revenue actually doubled to about 490 crore rupees, and the average order value is now at about 499 rupees. Now, there's rapid expansion that's happening here with plans to double the dark store count by FY25 and to over 1,000 stores. And while it's also expanding at the same time the size of the dark stores as newer categories get added. Now, the company has also said that going forward, it expects the steady state take rates to expand to about 20 to 22%, contribution margin to about 8 to 9%, and it expects to deliver a 4 to 5% adjusted EBITDA margin. Now, the growth strategy here for quick commerce will focus on same-store sales growth, deeper penetration in the existing markets, while also entering new markets. Now, finally, there's also been an interesting development, where while its rival Zomato is betting on the events and ticketing space, Swiggy is now setting up a new subsidiary that will be engaged in the business of sports team ownerships, talent development, and acquiring and broadcasting sponsorship rights, among others. Now, it is in the process of seeking approvals from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for this, and it's yet to name the business and yet to commence operations. But this will be interesting to see how it goes into the outdoor business. But this will be in the sports and the recreation space. Back to you.
All right, many thanks, Shilpa. Now, at an all-party meeting with the Lok Sabha Speaker last evening, the Parliament deadlock has been broken. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman tabled the Banking Law Amendment Bill. However, opposition members staged a walkout after the Speaker turned down the demand to discuss the Adani controversy and the Manipur violence. The Finance Minister defended the amendments in the Lok Sabha, saying it will make banks safer and stronger.
We can't afford to have any one of our banks struggling or on the crevice that they may fall off. I must credit the RBI and the Ministry of Finance, not because I'm there, but truly. Since 2014, we have been extremely cautious that banks remain stable. The intention is to keep our banks safe, stable, healthy, and in the 10 years, you're seeing the outcome. And it is benefiting the economy.
Well, the Finance Minister in Parliament and more action from Parliament. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar spoke about the border patrolling agreement with China. He said the relationship with China has seen some improvement since the Galwan Valley clash between both armies 5 years ago. Take a look.
The House is aware that our ties have been abnormal since 2020, when peace and tranquility in the border areas were disturbed as a result of Chinese actions. Recent developments that reflect our continuous diplomatic engagement since then have set our ties in the direction of some improvement. The disengagement has been achieved in full in eastern Ladakh through a step-by-step process, culminating in Depsang and Demchok.
Now, Bangladesh has reportedly reduced the purchase of electricity from Adani Power by half. The Adani Group's Govt thermal power station in Jharkhand supplies electricity to Bangladesh as per Reuters. The chairperson of Bangladesh Power Development Board said that power demand has gone down due to the onset of winter. The development comes amidst an ongoing payment dispute between Adani Power and the Bangladesh government. A spokesperson of the Adani Power said that they have received no indication from the Bangladesh government to review the 7-year-old power purchase agreement. Now, the government plans to amend the Insurance Act to give the sector regulator the authority to specify investment limits for companies. If approved, the IRDAI will have the power to allow insurers to invest more in equity or other asset classes. Yash is here with more. Yash.
Many interesting proposals coming out in terms of what the government has proposed with respect to amending the Insurance Act. Another interesting one out of that could be the changes that the government is looking to make with respect to the investment regulations for both life, general and health insurance companies. So far, the investment regulations in terms of the investment limits, in terms of what insurance companies, how much can they invest in various asset classes is embedded in the Insurance Act itself. What the government is intending to do is to partially pass on the authority to specify investment limits for insurance companies in different asset classes. Case in point, for life insurance companies, what the government has proposed is that 25% from the life insurance company side will be invested in central government securities. Another 25% will be invested in central plus state government securities, which means 50% of the total investment will be embedded in the Insurance Act itself. The regulator will have the authority to decide the limits, whereas when we speak about the investment limits on the balance 50%, which could either be in terms of equity, corporate debt, infrastructure and social sectors and other approved investments. Possible if the IRDA wants to increase the equity investment limit from the current 15%, it could do so with this proposal being approved. For general insurance companies, the government has said that 25% in government securities, another 10% in central and state government securities. With this, 35% is gone. With the balance 65%, the IRDAI to have the authority in terms of allowing insurance companies, that is general insurance companies, to invest higher or lower in different asset classes like equity, social infrastructure sector or any other approved investments. Remember, the stakeholder views on these changes are expected by December 10th.
Yash, many thanks. On India Business Hour, the government delays the full-fledged launch of the internship scheme announced in the budget. That and more when we return. You're watching India Business Hour. The Defence Acquisition Council has greenlit proposals to buy weapons worth more than 21,700 crore rupees. The council has approved the procurement of 31 waterjet fast attack crafts for the Indian Navy, designed to perform low-intensity maritime operations, along with 120 fast interceptor aircraft. The purchase of 6 advanced light helicopters for the Coast Guard has been approved as well. The council has also approved the procurement of electronic warfare suite comprising jammer pods and radar warning systems. The Indian Food Regulatory Body has tightened the safety norms for packaged drinking water and mineral water. The FSSAI has decided to treat packaged drinking and mineral water segment under the high-risk food category and subjected it to mandatory inspection and third-party audit norms. Companies will undergo risk-based inspection once every year. They will also be inspected before the grant of a license or a registration. Now, Indigo has filed a lawsuit against Mahindra Electric over the use of the term 6E in the name of Mahindra's newest upcoming launch, the Mahindra BE6E. The case has been presented in the Delhi High Court and a hearing has now been scheduled for the 9th of December. Indigo senior advocate Sandeep Sethi informed the court that Mahindra has reached out to discuss the issue. Responding to the lawsuit, a Mahindra Group spokesperson said the company has applied to the trademark BE6E and not the standalone 6E for which Indigo holds the trademark. The union government has delayed the full-fledged launch of the internship scheme announced in the budget. Sources say the government is planning to expand the ambit to include 1,000 companies against the current 500. Banks and financial institutions are also likely to be added to the list. Shivani standing by with more. Shivani, pilot barely underway and a major overhaul already in the works is what we're given to understand.
Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the government is planning significant changes to its flagship internship scheme to make it more inclusive and effective. One of the key proposals by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is expanding the scope of participating companies. Now, currently, remember, it is limited to the top 500 firms. The program now could see inclusion of top 1,000 companies. Additionally, banks and financial institutions are likely to join the program, creating a broader pool of opportunities for interns. Also, Also, another big change that can happen is the eligibility criteria. The age limit may be revised from the current 21 to 24 years to 18 to 26 years. Educational qualifications too could see a relaxation. At present, students pursuing degrees or those without a high school diploma are excluded, but the new rules might allow them to participate, attracting a wider range of applicants. Now, these changes aim to make the scheme more accessible to more people, aligning with the government's goal of building a skilled workforce and enhancing employability. Now, remember that the pilot project of the internship program was launched on December 2nd. According to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, the first cohort of interns hailing from 625 districts is now interning across 34 states and union territories in India. The internship portal, sources suggest, has already received over 6 lakh registrations. Sources also say that these changes come on the back of lessons learned from the registrations of the pilot project and are likely to come into effect only after the pilot project is over. Back to you.
All right, Shivani, many thanks. In national news, Cyclone Fengal has weakened after making a landfall. However, heavy rains expected in parts of Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. In Tamil Nadu, close to 10 people have died due to rain-related accidents. Rescue operations are underway to evacuate stranded citizens. At least 15 districts in Tamil Nadu have been put under yellow alert. Preparations for the Maharashtra government swearing-in ceremony underway at Mumbai's iconic Azad Maidan. The BJP, Shiv Sena and NCP leaders visited the venue today to oversee the preparations. The oath-taking ceremony will take place on Thursday evening. The BJP Legislative Party will meet tomorrow to select their leader, who in all likelihood will take oath as the Chief Minister. Meanwhile, Maharashtra's caretaker Chief Minister Eknath Shinde was rushed to hospital in Thane today. However, he left the hospital within an hour and said it was a routine checkup. Former Punjab Deputy Chief Minister Sukhbir Badal and other Shiromani Akali Dal leaders have begun penance at Amritsar's Golden Temple. A wheelchair-bound Badal was seen bearing a plaque and holding a spear outside the entrance of the Golden Temple. The supreme temporal body of the Sikhs has declared him guilty of religious misconduct for mistakes committed by his party when they were in power in the state for a decade. The Punjab-based Shiromani Akali Dal performed poorly in the Lok Sabha elections, winning just one seat and garnering only 13% of the votes. The government is all set to install tracking devices on top of solar panels to monitor power generated on a real-time basis. The data will be consolidated under a super dashboard for better planning for power transmission. Abhimanyu is here with more details. Abhi.
Government sources have indicated that tracking devices are likely to be installed soon in rooftop solar plants as the government aims to aggregate real-time production of renewable energy across India. The government is planning to install a mechanism to calculate the percentage of renewable energy out of the total installed capacity on a real-time basis. Sources have indicated that the scheme will extend to distributed renewable energy from household projects under PM Kusum scheme and the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. The government will collect all available data from grid-connected and off-grid sources of power at one place, and the data will be sourced from inverters for solar power and wind power. The data would be consolidated under a super dashboard for better planning and transmission. SIM cards would be placed in inverters which are a part of RE generation plants, including the rooftop solar plants. The data from bigger RE generation plants is already available but is currently being collected by different agencies. Currently, the data on generated power at a grid level is only available for conventional sources of power, while the data on renewable energy is fragmented sector-wise, which would be aggregated under this scheme.
Abhi, many thanks. In international news, the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon hanging by a thread. This after Israel attacked southern Lebanon after accusing the Hezbollah of firing rockets at Tel Aviv. Israel also bombed Gaza, killing 36 people in the last 24 hours. The UN has warned that food availability in Gaza is at an all-time low. China has banned the export of key minerals to the US. These are minerals that have the potential military applications and comes just a day after the US imposed fresh curbs on the Chinese semiconductor industry. Yesterday, the White House curbed exports to 140 Chinese companies, including top semiconductor makers. US President-elect Donald Trump has also threatened to hike tariffs on China. US President-elect Donald Trump has said it would block Nippon Steel's bid to take over US Steel. This takeover deal is valued at $14.9 billion. On social media, Trump stated, and I quote, "As a president, I will block this deal from happening." End of quote. Responding to Trump, the Japanese firm said it will invest no less than $2.7 billion into the facilities and secure jobs in the US company. Elon Musk's $100 billion pay package as Tesla's CEO has been rejected by a US court. This decision was made despite the approval of the package by Tesla shareholders earlier this year. The pay deal includes 303 million Tesla stock options. Well, that being rejected by the court. Now, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV 18. Do stay tuned. We're back in a minute with more.